Hello, and welcome to the Social Small Talk.
Hey everyone, this is Audra Brim, and I am so excited that you've joined me for this episode of the Social Small Talk. I'm the CEO and founder of Brim Media, and I have dedicated my professional life to helping the beauty industry navigate the digital space. I believe that everyone can succeed if we learn from each other. That's why I'm here bringing ideas and information that can help you navigate the noisy digital marketing space. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Social Small Talk. I say this every time, and I know, but I am so excited today because I actually have a really dear friend on the podcast that I've probably been trying to coerce to do this for like years, but I finally got her to do it, and I'm very excited. So I have Denise Shedrick, VP of Sales and Product Development of MOP, and I couldn't be more ecstatic just because I think a lot of people in the world out there don't realize how much sales and marketing actually coexist together. And I think this one is perfect for those out there that are just thinking, oh, sales does their own thing and marketing does their own, and maybe they should talk together. Denise is the perfect person to talk about how they actually should loop together. So Denise, why don't you tell everyone a bit more about yourself, maybe your background, and just I'm so excited. I'm a little too excited.
Well, thank you. Of course, I would do anything for you, my dear friend. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy we were able to get this scheduled. So a little bit about my background. I have been in the beauty business since the early 2000s. Been on all facets of the industry. Started out with my own distribution company in Dallas, Texas, and then went to the manufacturing side, which is where I remain today. So in 2015, my CEO came to me and said, hey, I've purchased a brand that you know and love. And I actually started it with one brand, and that was MOP. At the time, it stood for Modern Organic Products, and it's since changed to Modern Original Products for Modern Original People. But at any rate, so this was a brand that was near and dear to my heart. So when my current CEO came to me and said that he purchased the brand from Revlon, he was like, you're the best person to come and help us run the sales division and do our product development for us. So I've been on all facets of the industry over the many years, but the manufacturing side is probably my favorite. And I love doing the product development piece as well.
Yeah, and you're really good at it, so I can't complain.
Well, it's like birthing children. Like you go through this process with the chemist and I create the unicorn. I say, this is the unicorn I want to build. And then it's up to the chemist then to try and meet those expectations. So it's been a lot of fun.
I love that you say it's like birthing a child. I feel like business in general is like birthing a child because you have your highs, you have your lows. Anybody that has children understands those lows no matter what, as much as we pretend they don't happen. But the highs outweigh those lows. And especially when you talk about product development, building a brand, you know so much about building a brand, especially. I know we've talked a lot about, your background in sales. And I just believe and I know I said this just now, but I believe so many people don't realize how much sales and marketing really do need to coexist to be able to almost grow that child, be able to go through that life cycle. If you could give any advice to those people, what would you say and why marketing and sales should coexist together?
It's interesting to me because I actually think the MOP brand is the perfect example of why it should coexist. So one of the things that I set out to do when I came to work with this brand is I wanted to build a culture. MOP had always, in its ethos, in its originality, was about creating salon environments where people could express themselves without being judged, condemned, or criticized. The problem was back in 1998 when the brand was originated, how did you get that message across? There was no way to get that message across. You could do it through advertising. You could do it through the training of your salespeople, but you didn't really fully build that culture. So when I came on, it was really my mission that I wanted to build a salon community and a culture around this brand that expressed what the brand represented. And what the brand represents is love and diversity and acceptance, We want to be inclusive, never exclusive, but we want people to feel a part of something. Hairdressers in general are in the beauty industry. We like to feel a part of something. We want to feel a part of a culture and a brand. And there's no better way to do that than when sales and marketing are connected. So you have to take those philosophies and train this. And in our situation, we don't have a direct sales force. So we're training distributors, sales consultants about the culture of the brand. And so that means we want them to feel a part of who we are. We want them to feel our culture. One of the best ways to do that is the storytelling through social media. It gives you a whole new channel of storytelling that we didn't have before. We didn't have this back when I originally started with the brand. So now you've got ways to connect people, to share their life stories, to share their modern originality. And it just brings the brand full circle is the best way I know to explain it.
I love that. One, I always harp on people making sure they have a brand story. And that's something that I think you've done so well in your career in general, is making sure there's always a brand story, whether that's in marketing or whether that's when you're selling the line as well, because it needs to have something that people attach themselves to. Like you said, in the beauty industry, especially stylists, they're looking for a brand they could get behind because they love it. It sounds bad, but it's not always about the product they use, but really about that story of why it's going to help them achieve something, whether that's advancing their career, whether that's educating, whether that's something out of it. And I think you said it perfectly, which is with social media and now between when you first started, right, is that has changed that course of being able to get that story out. You've answered this a bit, but how do you think social media has changed the beauty industry?
I think we now live in a society that everybody wants a review, wants to go look at a review for a product. Like everything's driven by what are the reviews on whatever platform the products are being sold. And social media from a stylist community gives you the ability to see what other stylists who are using the brand are doing with it. What do they love about it? What products are their favorites? And it's not just reading a simple review, but it's you're engaging them. They can direct message the person and connect with that individual so that they feel a part of that family. The social media teams that are behind the brand, they're reaching out to artists and connecting with them, saying, oh my gosh, we love your work. There's such pride within our industry when somebody reaches out and says, your work is beautiful. We take great pride in that. And I think that we've not been able to do that as well as we can now with social media in engaging our stylist communities.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's funny because I think we've gone through our waves, right, of social media where it becomes a little less authentic, then very authentic. And then you get the influencer side and you're like, wait, do you really care about my brand? Do you not care about my brand? Is there anything about social media, at least right now, going on, right? The world is a different place right now, that you just love so much that has just wowed you when it comes to the beauty industry?
I really, obviously with the current situation and the whole quarantine thing. So what's fascinating to me about our industry, and one of the reasons that I left a corporate America background and came to the beauty industry, and I thought I was nuts when I did it, but I love it, and I'm so happy to be a part of this wonderful life. But we typically brag that the beauty industry is the second most recession-proof industry next to alcohol. Women are always going to get their hair done.
Yep.
We've never, in the lifetime of our industry, been closed and told we can't do hair. So the only way that we managed to lift each other up through all of this was through social media. And the hundreds and hundreds of stylists and brands and manufacturers and distributors, we literally all came together through social media. And when we said we're in this together, we meant it. We've put together protocols that we've shared with each other. We're sharing more information across brands, across competing salons are sharing information through social media because they all want us to be back to work and back to work safely to protect the industry that we love so much.
I love that you said the recession-proof thing because, as most of people know, I own a digital marketing agency, and we specifically focus in the beauty industry. And people have been coming up and been like, so how are you doing? How's quarantine? How's everything? And I'm like, well, it's funny, yes, my background's obviously in beauty. I love it. But the big part of it was because it's a recession-proof industry, right? The beauty industry always needs marketing. They always need help, except when things completely shut down. And it was a very odd, no one can predict things, right? And I think the huge value, and it goes back to the sales and marketing coexisting together, is that brand story is talking about having people coexist together, sharing information on social media. But a big part of it is almost like lifting each other up. And I think we lost that for a good amount of time on social media, especially. It was almost like, this brand's doing this, so I need to do this better, or I need to completely change my way. And I would almost say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's one good thing that came out of COVID, which is that the beauty industry is almost going to come out stronger, because it's not an all for one. It's an all for us type of thing. We all want to exist together. We want to grow each other. Now, that's not going to say that competitors aren't going to go after each other in like 6 months.
Right.
But like you said, salons are sharing information, brands are sharing information. It's almost like we just want to see the light at the end of the tunnel and get to it and go, hey, high five, let's all get a really good drink in Vegas at Cosmoprof, or let's just go do something that makes us feel really good after we all get through this.
Well, the other thing, though, I think it's taken years of convincing to upper management that social media is a requirement to build a brand. Like, it's taken some caught on sooner rather than others, but there was really a lag in the appreciation of what social media can do for a brand. And I would say through this quarantine, that has been the one thing. When you didn't have any sales, there weren't any sales coming in. There was no one to go sell to. And so the only thing that sustained our brand and many of the other brands was social media. It really kept that connectivity with that brand, and the brands that got on the social media bandwagon and could support it through education, through uplifting comments, through bringing people together. Those are the ones that came out on top of this whole quarantine situation.
I 100% guarantee that people are listening to this and going, oh, I was in that place. Like, I didn't believe in social media, or yeah, great, they have a lot of followers, but I doubt they have sales from that. And I think so much mind shift has changed now, because the people, and we've seen it, the brands that did not have social media before this, or weren't doing much with it, were ones that were like, oh crap, we have to do this. Like, and we have to do it quick, and we have to segue our whole marketing effort into just doing this. Because it wasn't exactly what you said, where people didn't have DSCs. They didn't have people out on the road going and stopping in places and talking about a brand. I always say that I think the beauty industry sometimes is caught in the past, and that, and I know a lot of people out there will go shaking their heads like, yep, yes, we are. I mean, people still go to salons, and salons will still pick up this huge book. I mean, I think we've gotten a lot better in the last couple of years, but that's how they do their system instead of an actual CRM system. Now, again, I think we're starting to get out of that. But what I can see out of COVID is just what you said, which is people finally realize that social media isn't just this like, oh, it's behind the scenes, I have to post something pretty. It's creating a community. It's being there for people. At the end of the day, when we said beforehand, where stylists are really looking for a brand to get behind, the brands that people are getting behind even more are the ones that were supporting their stylists through this, whether it was affiliate marketing, whether it was doing so many other things, education-based. I know you were very heavy on making sure education was happening for your stylists. To be able to make sure that these stylists stayed, one, not just educated, but like, when you have a craft, right, like an artist, and you don't use that craft for a long time, when you get back to that chair, all of a sudden you're like, you know it, right? It's like riding a bike. You get back on, you know how to do it. but you needed to keep going throughout quarantine. You needed to process it. You needed to educate yourself. You needed to have fun, maybe tool around a little bit more. And I do think social media during COVID helped that, because it was like, oh, you're going through this, I'm going through this, reaching out to people, reaching out to brands, figuring out things that can happen. Now, you said something perfectly, which is when we look at social media and how sales weren't happening and stuff like that for brands, a lot of brands out there that were doing a lot more e-commerce had an easier transition from the social media sales segue than the direct to salons or anything like that. Do you think it's easier or harder to make a sale through digital marketing and social media now?
Oh, I think it's much easier. I think it's becoming. It's just like the one thing that everyone learned through quarantine was how to do a Zoom meeting. So my 72-year-old mother now knows how to execute a Zoom meeting. But they also learned how to find whatever they needed, whatever they wanted online through e-commerce channels. So if you weren't an online shopper, because I used to always say, you either are, everybody has their own shopping patterns and behaviors. So you're either an online shopper or you're not. Mm-hmm. Prior to quarantine, I'm not. I'm a visual person. I want the experience of going into the store. I want the experience of trying on. I want the experience, I like it. It's recreation to me. So online shopping is tedious to me and frustrating. But you learn to deal with what you're dealt, right? So through quarantine, I think so many people who, and an entire older generation who didn't previously online shop, learned to online shop. But the other piece that I would tell you that through digital marketing and e-commerce, for me, in terms of running a brand, I was able to connect directly with my consumers and my stylist. So obviously we had layoffs like everyone else. So customer service teams were downsized, sales teams were downsized. So guess where all the phone calls came? Guess where all the emails came? To me, right? Like I was it. But it was so refreshing to interact with the users of our brand saying, I've loved this product for this many years, and tell me, based on, I'm getting ready to open my salon after the quarantine, and tell me what product mix I should have. But I was able to interact personally on a really personal level with the people who actually use our brand. And it was so refreshing to me to know that we really are creating good products that people love, and that they sought out to find. Like they took the time to go online to find an email to get to me to get their questions answered, and that's remarkable. And we couldn't have done that 20 years ago.
No, I agree. I always say now, at least, we're almost in the perfect age of COVID. Like in 10 years, 20 years, I'm sure people will be like, haha, we're better than you. Like, what are you talking about? Sure. But it's for that reason. We have that connectivity now to be able to talk to our stylists, talk to the consumers, hear what they say. And on a sales person, and this is perfect for the marketing and sales mix, right, is those just came together perfectly, because as a salesperson during this time, you can't do necessarily what you've been taught to do your whole entire career. But what you can do is go back to the drawing board of being able to go, let me actually be real. Let me be human. Let me ask about someone. And not because we've all gotten these emails. I know these are unprecedented times. I hope you're doing well. It's like, if I have to read one more email that's the first sentence, I'm like, just blow my mind a little bit. Yeah. It's more about like, how are you? Especially when you know your stylists or salon owners or anyone you're selling to, you want to be able to say, how's your mom doing? How's your sister doing? Like, as the sales team, normally you know pretty much everything about the person you're selling to at that point, because one, whether it's a new door or whether it's an existing client, you've done your research. I mean, you could tell me I'm wrong, but I know that that's how you do things. So, but for that, it's almost like you can reach out to those people, whether it's Zoom, email, social media, and just be a friend. And then at the end of this, they'll come running back. Hey, thank you so much for being there for me. And you shouldn't, again, I'm going back to just being human, right? You shouldn't be doing that just to get the sale at the end. It should really come from your heart and go, because people see through that. I'm sure you can speak to that. There's so many things people see through on social media.
Well, one of the things as we've re-engaged our sales teams and our distributor sales teams is and you know this from having known me for so long, I'm a big preacher of don't be just a sales rep, be a business partner, be a resource, be a consultant. So from the sales perspective, all of this really gave us the opportunity to readjust how we go back into market. You can't just walk into a salon anymore and call on a salon. You have to have an appointment. So which means that you as that salesperson have to add value in a way that they're willing to take a meeting with you. So it really, if you were just a salesperson that went salon to salon and said, here's my catalog of products, let me know what you want, those days are gone. Those days are gone. So you have to find real value. So we're training our sales teams to connect differently with their salons through social media, via setting up appointments, obviously doing Zoom meetings, but providing business content, looking at how can we, as the manufacturer, create cost efficiencies for the salon when we know they're not seeing as many people as they want to see in the salon because of all of the restrictions. So what cost efficiencies can I bring to you and your salon that help you grow your revenue or create cash flow for you? So it really shifted, I think, the whole business about how we do business with the salons. And it's created, and because people were stuck at home, they could reach out to the salons differently. And we were encouraging them, reach out to that owner through Instagram, direct message them. You've never been able to connect with them before. So stop running by and trying to catch them in the salon. Direct message them through their Instagram account. Like, you have a perfect way to do this that you didn't have before. Even if you don't have their phone number, guess what? You found them on Instagram or you found them on Facebook or whatever. And if you engage intelligently and show that you add value, they're more likely to take that appointment for you. And you've created that through social media. I mean, and they have to see what you're posting. They have, and it's a two-way street, right? So you have to post intelligently. You have to consider the things that you're putting on your own social media platforms that make you look reputable within the business. And hopefully that will further your career professionally within the beauty business.
It's Audra Brent here, taking a quick break. Thanks again for listening. I just wanted to let you know about the offer Brim Media has put together called the 6-Month Strategy to Grow Your Business. This is your chance to have a tailor-made 6-month strategy to grow your business online. Think of us as your digital partner. We work with you to create a cost-effective success plan for your social media and digital marketing efforts. To learn more, go to www.brimmedia.com/6-month-custom-plan. I can't wait to hear from you, and we look forward to working together. And I think we're coming to a stage with sales reps as well, where it's kind of both ways. Like, you have the older generation, but you also have like a newer generation that understands this. But when we're looking at sales reps as a whole, getting them on board of social media, because I do think sometimes they tend to, and this is from my own recollection, just so you know, my mom was a sales rep. I was a sales rep for a long time. I understand this a little too well. But for me, it's more of, how do you get those mentalities to switch? Because I think sometimes when you're in that sales mode, you kind of go, woe is me, when things don't go right. And you don't all of a sudden look to, social media can be this help. It's kind of like, my numbers are down, I'm screwed type of thing. How would you switch that mentality of going, you know what, social media is actually a really good place for you. It's not out to get you.
Right. I have this philosophy, and it stems back from a story a long time ago, and you know this story. But I thought doing very well in my sales career at the time, and I was told by a new executive that had come in, and he was like, I just really don't get it. He goes, you're really good at what you do, but yet you're not hitting your numbers. Like, what are you sitting around eating bonbons all day? And I was like, I beg your pardon. And I said, you got to go back and look at my numbers because I was hitting my numbers. But what it did, and he later came back and apologized. We had a whole conversation. So that's not really the point. But the point is that I had to look internally at myself. And as I like to say, I had to kick my own ass and say, if somebody's not viewing me as a productive person in my job and that they don't immediately see the value that I'm bringing, then I'm obviously not doing something correct. And so that's when you have to learn, do I have to look at my relationships with my customers? Do I have to look at my relationships with my salons? Do I have to look at the relationships with my colleagues? And how is it that they're viewing me? So it really gave me a moment of self-reflection. And I think that translates to how you have to evolve yourself constantly in your career. And if social media is now giving you a tool that you didn't have before to connect in a different way, because sales is all about relationships. Period. I still have customers that I had, like my first customer in the beauty business is still a customer of mine today. Like I still have a great relationship with that salon and that salon owner. We are forever connected because she found value in what I brought to the table, and we've helped each other over the years. So I think that there's a real misstep if somebody doesn't recognize that you can build great relationships through social media that will evolve your client base. I hope I answered that.
No, I think that was awesome. Mostly because you have to look internally. Sometimes I think we like to look at the world and think, and this is the pessimistic view of some things, but it's like the world is out to get me instead of going, how can I make things right? Mm-hmm. How can I do it better? How can I do this? And I think that's perfect. Social media is there at your fingertips to have fun with it too. It's about a relationship. And I think people get stuck on the sitting there going, what should I post today? What do I need to post today? I'm behind the computer. Let me just put a pretty picture up instead of having almost like a strategy. And it goes back to the sales part of it. When you go in to sell something, you're not there and going, well, I hope they buy something. It's like you had a thought before you walked in there of what you want them to buy. You know what they either need or you know a new product, you know all of that. So take social media as that and put it exactly like you would talk to your customers instead of sitting there wondering, and I have my hands up pretending I'm writing right now on a computer. For some reason, I always look like I'm doing a typewriter and it's not. I have a typewriter. Makes no sense. But like you have to have value. Don't just sit and go, oh, I have to post a pretty picture today. It's like, what's the value of that? What is your ultimate goal? And I think people get hung up on that. But if you're thinking about your customers and your clients, and even if you're thinking about consumers, what do they care about? What are they caring about right now? And that kind of takes me to, we're going to segue completely, Denise, but I just want to know, as a consumer, what makes you buy something on social media?
Such a sucker.
Just to let everyone listening know something, I've talked to Denise offline about this because I'm a sucker for buying bathing suits. Complete sucker. And I don't know, honestly, it's funny because I'm a marketer, so I know exactly what people are doing. I know how they're targeting me. I know everything about it. And yet as soon as it comes up, I'm like, ooh, I need that. Like, I just have to have one. One, I hate bathing suits, so it's probably because I just don't want to go and try one on. But it's just so funny. So Denise is a hat lover. I'm just letting everyone know. And I have to know, have you ever bought a hat on social media?
Of course I have. And so the funniest part was one of our educators is out in California. She's also a hat lover. So the fact that, so it pops up in my feed that she likes this brand and I always love her hats, right? So now I'm like, oh, I'm going to go try their hats. You know, and I am such a sucker for the Facebook advertising. Like, it's ridiculous the amount of things that I have purchased through Facebook. I was sitting with my hairdresser the other day, and he was just laughing because he was like, "Oh, your hair feels thicker. Oh, your hair it looks better." And I go, "It's the stuff I bought on Facebook," you know. And he was like, he goes, you just crack me up. you just will try anything. And I'm like, look, and I'll say this out loud, I'm in my mid 50s. And so, yeah, anything that I can do to retain my youth, I'm on it. So yeah. So if you're a Facebook advertiser out there, keep doing what you're doing because it's working. I promise.
That's so funny. I mean, welcome to my life, right? I always laugh because Denise and I'll talk offline, and I'll go, so what new thing did you buy? And I'll feel like so good about myself as a Facebook advertiser of going like, yes, there's that one consumer out there that I know I got. Yeah. But it's funny, and I think brands should really look at that is you and I are not. We're not the only ones out there that are buying.
I think we're very typical. And to a certain degree, we're a bit more informed, and we still get lost in it. So I think organizations and brands and companies that aren't utilizing those advertising opportunities are really missing out, particularly if you have a product to sell that you can demonstrate and show before, after kinds of things. But I also think our salons should take a look at that too. The importance, stylists, I think, tend to get tired of posting content and posting pictures. But those that do it well, and we've heard this many times over the years, a salon owner will take on a new stylist who has mastered the art of social media because they can build a book of business faster. They can add value to that salon quicker because they have mastered the social media. So there are so many benefits of this. If you're trying to sell yourself or if you're trying to sell a product, they now have to coexist together.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. I just feel like, I say this often, but I always tell Denise, I wish I could like pack her up and bring her to like every client meeting so she could just speak stuff for me because it's so, so true. And I think the beauty industry, because it's evolving and it evolved so much, unfortunately, in 2020 with everything we're dealing with, that looking to the future. And I say this especially because I think all of us are so wrapped up in it's July in 2020. What do I need to be doing right now? Instead of still planning out like our goals and looking to 2021, like the light is at the end of the tunnel at some point. We got to refresh ourselves. Where do you think the beauty industry is going to go after COVID?
The thing that I feel like happened during COVID, I mean, we're still in it, right?
Yeah,
but
we're still going.
We're still going. But it really, and I've had lots of conversations with owners and people within the industry, sensitivity training has become key. People are sensitive to go to the salons. They're sensitive to sit in somebody's chair. It's a hard topic and conversation to talk about. Some of us don't want to talk about it anymore. But at the same time, so many people have had their lives affected by it. So there's a whole sensitivity that has happened. There are salons that won't reopen as a result of the shutdown. We have colleagues and friends whose careers may come to an end because they couldn't survive the cash crunch. So there's a real sensitivity and a loving nature and a willingness to be more compassionate than I think we ever have been before. Not that we weren't, but there, you get into a groove and a grind and it's one client after the next, after the next, after the next. And now you're having to slow down your services. You can't see as many people in salons. So you're learning to reconnect with your clientele in a whole different way. And then we're doing the same things from a manufacturing side. And our customers, which are the distributors, we're having to listen and understand the challenges that they're having. And we have to take that into consideration. We can't sell to them in the same way that we used to. We can't create promotions in the same way that we used to. Everything has had to shift, and it has to be more sensitive to everything from when you'll get payment to when you can see them in person again. Like everything has just shifted. So I think it has made us and will make us, at least for the next 12 to 18 months, be much more sensitive to our neighbors and our communities and our people within our organizations.
I couldn't agree more. I think I always think about, the stylist, especially that was working on 2 to 3 clients at a time, like the one that's processing, the one that gets in your chair. If it's a man, then you can do that haircut and then another one, all before the process is done. And that is gone right now.
Right.
And you really got to understand that stylists, distributors, consumers, everyone's life has been affected one way or another, whether they know or not. It's almost kind of like in 12 months, maybe we'll see how it affected someone. But it's so true. And I think stylists especially know that they're almost that therapist that people come to. And even though we go to them to look beautiful, we also go to them to kind of get away and then dump all of our issues on them. But at the same time, anybody that's listening, reach out to the stylist as well. They've been affected so hard, and they almost need the people to listen to them now instead of vice versa. Because like you said, there's going to be salons that don't open. There's going to be stylists that have to go find something else to do because they have a family to support and they were at their highest, right? And now they don't know how to switch and do things. And I think that's the perfect thing, is be more sensitive and keep doing that. Don't let it go away either. Because I talk about this a lot, which is being human, humanizing things. And that is the key to that, is use your heart instead of using like that sales brain of like, get the sale right now. If you use your heart, it'll help much more for the future.
Well, and I think the one thing, we've talked a lot about purchasing online and how purchasing habits have changed. One of the best ways that you can support your salon or your stylist is to purchase products from them in the salon.
Yeah.
They need that additional revenue. They need that support. So yes, while you were able to find the things that you loved online through quarantine, again, using your heart to help this person who's been with you through most of the important times of your life. They did your hair for prom. They did your hair for their wedding. They cut your baby's first head of hair. These are the people that are part of your life. And so to support them in any way that you can right now is so meaningful to them. And they will really, really appreciate it long term.
Yeah, I agree. Let's look past COVID. What do you think is the next big thing for the beauty industry? I love asking this because I feel like people are like, ooh, I have no idea.
Well, I think we're starting to see some of it now. I think there'll be a bigger shift for myself, for our brand, I should say, for the Mott brand. We're really looking at aging hair. Things, chemically processed hair loses porosity. So you're starting to see more and more brands focus on how to give the hair a more youthful look and to regain that youth. So that's kind of where we're focused at the moment, is how can we address some of these challenges that middle-aged women face as they grow older. And they still want to have gorgeous, beautiful, soft, shiny, manageable hair. But then the other piece of that is also staying current enough that you're attracting a young enough clientele that you're beginning to evolve. And that's really the beauty of social media right there, is because you can address the demographics that you want in different ways, and you can engage them both, and just reach a much broader clientele than you ever could before. Before, you used to decide what magazine advertisement was I going to put in to a publication, and you got one shot. Now you can create different campaigns for different demographics and different segments in ways that you never were able to do that before. So that's where I see the evolution of it. But the beauty business will rebound. We will rebound from this, I have no doubt in my mind. And this is just a little bump in the road. We're a very resilient community, and it's a big industry, but a small community, and we really are all in it together.
It's a lot smaller than I think people ever realize, because everyone knows everyone and loves each other, even if they say they don't.
Right.
Well, Denise, I loved being able to talk to you. Of course, I'm going to call you all the time still and talk to you no matter what. And I can't wait to have you back on here. But I'd love for people, whether it's for product development or sales information or marketing even, because you just are so knowledgeable, where can people reach out to you if they're looking for more information from you?
If they want to reach out through social media, obviously, so it's at Mott_hair_products. They can reach out to us through Instagram, and I'm always happy to respond.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. I know that we're going to get so many questions just about the difference between sales and marketing. I just can't wait to see what those are. So thank you again. I love you dearly. And I, again, can't wait to have you back on the show again.
Love you more, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks so much for listening to the Social Small Talk. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please visit our website at brimmedia.com for more show notes and additional episodes. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. It always helps other people find us. By the way, I love hearing from listeners. So send me an email at audra@brimmedia.com with your feedback. And if you send me a question, maybe I'll read it on the show. Don't worry, it'll be anonymous.